We are entering the final stretch of the year for the 2021 NFL season, and the season has more than taken shape. Some teams like the Tampa Bay Buccaneers are doing as well as expected as defending champions, while others have had letdown games and simply aren't playing up to the potential of what we thought they could. And as always in a game where grown men run full speed at each other, and grown men have violent collisions at high speeds, and in linemen's cases high weights, there have been a lot of injuries. Injuries happen every year and no team is exempt from this. It is the worst part of the game that we all love, and unfortunately some stars do get hurt every year. But in today's video we are going to be discussing running backs and why they should never, or at least most of the time, get paid the big dollar. It is more than watching Dalvin Cook get hurt this past week, and as I was in the midst of making this video it was announced Christian McCaffrey was going to be done for the year as well. Again, it's more than just watching those two get hurt and saying, alright, let's make this video. Now, both of those things did happen, and both 2017 draftees did get hurt, Christian far worse than Dalvin, but it is more than saying it's a risk, end of story. So without further ado, let's begin. Now, taking a quick look around the NFL, and there have been plenty of NFL stars at one point in time in 2021 that have been hurt or missed games, and not necessarily just at the running back position. Kyler Murray has missed a few games, Aaron Rodgers missed a game, Russell Wilson got hurt on Thursday Night Football earlier in the year, and I get it, these are star players that have missed games, and it happens. Every year it happens. However, it seems more than ever in 2021 that it is the year of the injured running back, and it seemed to have started back in July when Cam Akers of the Rams went down with a torn Achilles and was subsequently done for the season. Then, a few weeks later, second-year running back J.K. Dobbins went down with a torn ACL, and then, even more unfortunate for the Ravens and their fans, Gus Edwards, even before Week 1 started, went down with a torn ACL, and so on. And quickly, if I forgot a running back that had an injury before Week 1 started, I did not intentionally forget them. Now, it's been a year for running backs, and 2021 has been a shining light more than ever why they should not get paid big money unless there's a bit of a stipulation. Now, the stipulation is if you are the NFL franchise and you plan on rewarding your running back like an Alvin Kamara or a Dalvin Cook for the past few years of hard work and success that your franchise has had, with them being a center point of the offense, 81 catches in each of Alvin's first 3 seasons and a 2-year span of nearly 2,700 rushing yards and 29 rushing touchdowns in Dalvin Cook's case, well, all of these stats occurred on their rookie deals when they were paid a fraction of what that production should entail, money-wise. Then pay those guys and reward those guys with a 3 or a 4-year contract with all, as in every penny of the guarantees within the next contract in the first 2 years of their next deal, because as an NFL franchise, you have to be able to protect yourself against things like this. Injuries that will naturally occur when you have players that carry the ball or touch the ball anywhere from 250 to 400 times in a 16-game span, I guess now 17-game span, and getting hit by 200 to 40, or in some cases, if a D lineman makes a play, which will happen over the course of a game, 300-plus pound grown men. Injuries will naturally happen. And one belief I have that hasn't really been expressed too much across the NFL by the media, and it's that I've seen teams like the Broncos get on this wave for now, and I do expect it to continue, is drafting a running back in the second round of the draft while having a veteran the way they do now in Melvin Gordon. And while the Broncos have not done a lot of things really right since the Super Bowl victory over the Panthers, I do truly believe this is one of them, and I do believe this is a trend that we will start to see across the NFL. Tampa right now has a very good situation at the running back position, and it's not that it's a running back by committee, but it's who they have there. And I will say and acknowledge that their specific situation is different than most because they have an elite quarterback, and really elite downplays Tom, that players naturally want to play with, as we are at the point in time that Tom has been playing for so long that every player under the age of 30 remembers watching him grow growing up and wants to be teammates with the GOAT. So Zeke and Tony Pollard are another great committee in Dallas, and the selection of Pollard was back in 2019, and the pick not only proved to be wise, but he has been extremely productive in the role he's played. The Zeke contract is something else, of course, but the concept and the way it was done was correct based on today's model. And then to counter this, you take a look at a team like the New York Giants, who were rebuilding as it was and drafted a running back number 2 overall, and one that unfortunately has been injured quite often at that. Now, I truly do feel bad for Saquon. I mean, he is a human being and you don't want to see guys get hurt, but to go to a team with an aging quarterback and a team that had no offensive line, well, when you add A plus B in that situation, it's worked about as well as you would expect, and there's a reason why over the past 8 years, they've consistently been one of the worst teams in football. And as much as I like this player, I want to preface this with I'm not hoping this happens. Believe me, I want to make that as crystal clear as possible. However, I would be genuinely shocked if Jonathan Taylor doesn't miss at least a game or two at some point in time, and especially him of all running backs. Jonathan left the University of Wisconsin with an extreme amount of tread on the tires, as he had at least 300 touches in each year and ran for 2,000 yards in 2 of his 3 seasons at Wisconsin. Now, I'm not taking away from anything he did as much as acknowledging how much wear and tear on his body that takes. And when you have a player that has, and no exaggeration here, 265 plus touches in every one of the past 5 falls and is well on his way to 300 plus or more in 2021, well, unless he is an anomaly, which I hope he is, please understand this, he is due to get hurt or suffer even some sort of minor injury at some point in time. Whether that's for a game or a season long, well, I mean, he is unfortunately due based on how every other running back is. And while I don't have a face camera, I cannot stress enough that I don't sit here and say this hoping it happens, because injuries are a bit of a taboo subject, especially when being discussed in this manner, but it is a point I want to drive home. Now, there used to be some discussion on Twitter regarding this, and it is the belief that franchises should absolutely never draft a running back in the first round, and if you truly love a running back prospect, now I will say that Zeke and Saquon were a little different, and even Fournette for that matter, based on how they were as NFL draft prospects, but then you take a player in the pick 33 to 36, even up to 40 range in the draft, and trade up if you have to, run them into the ground for 4 years, essentially having 300 plus carries in every single one of their first 4 years, and then maybe tag them for a 5th year, and then let them walk in free agency. And that was pretty much the exact model the Steelers did with Le'Veon Bell. Le'Veon wanted a huge deal, the Steelers offered him a huge deal, and Le'Veon never signed and held out for the entirety of the 2018 season, and by the way, we've seen how that's worked out since then. But looking at, the premier backs, the Alvin, Dalvin, CMC, Derrick Henry, etc., I didn't mean to leave anybody out, by the way, all of their teams opted to pay their guys, and it has been a bag of mixed results, especially in the case of Christian McCaffrey, who unfortunately has played just 10 games since signing the contract extension, and as we said, is now done for the year. Now, I do wish there were other ways for running backs to be compensated, and what I mean is, look at Jonathan Taylor specifically and his production over the past 2 seasons, or seasoned in 12 games. He has over 2,300 rushing yards and 25 touchdowns, and the Colts have won a lot of games, and most recently, they went to Buffalo, and Jonathan had 5 total touchdowns and was a huge reason that they beat Buffalo in Buffalo. No small feat. And I do wish there was a way where Jim Irsay, the owner, would pull Jonathan aside and basically say, look, what you are doing on the field and what you are being paid is structurally way off. You're putting up $12 to $15 million worth of production per year and are not being fairly compensated for it. here is this under the table. And I do realize that the rookie scale contracts are the way they are now for a reason, and that's a whole thing in the CBA and everything else, as in the late 2000s you had guys on rosters making huge money on rookie deals, and by the way, good for them, but for the production the contract was certainly a hindrance to the team. Picture Trevor Lawrence or Zach Wilson signing immediately a 4-year, $85 to $90 million deal. Now, it wasn't those numbers then because the contracts now are way larger, but my point is it was a big number relative to the roster. And how that relates to today's video and why running backs should not get paid is we all know the rookie contract relative to what they produce is the most drastic at the NFL level. Of course, there are exceptions like Patrick Mahomes throwing for 50 touchdowns and 5,000 yards and winning a Super Bowl on the rookie deal, but he has more than been compensated for that since. I would never pay a running back $12+ million a year on the second deal unless it is either a franchise tag or a 2 to 3 year deal, as I feel like every time they'd take a hit, I'd be worried about the investment that we have as a franchise in that said player. Now, I do feel bad for those guys because of the position that they're in, and I do hope all of them both stay healthy and achieve the financial freedom that they have been working their entire lives for. And with that being said, that's all I have for today's video. I hope you enjoyed. If you're still around watching, I'm asking you now to please leave a like and subscribe to the channel, as I hope you enjoyed. And until next time, it would also mean the world, by the way, but until next time, be safe and have a great day.